What I'm about to say might be controversial. Schools need to be fun. Kids need to be excited about going to school. And in order to create that type of culture, it needs to start with the adults. Today, my guest asks a very important question. What are you capable of to make schools a place kids love? Throughout our discussion, we challenge the false dichotomy of fun and engaging versus rigorous and hard. And we dial in on the truth that when things get more fun, learning actually becomes even more rigorous. When we start to lead from a place of joy, we experience better outcomes. This is a great conversation, and I cannot wait to share it with you. And get ready for all the new programming that's coming out of Empowered Educator. So head on over to empowerededucator.com/workshops to get the professional development that you have been waiting for. I know you want to be an educator that lives with more peace and ease and calm, but you might never have believed that it was possible for you. Well, Empowered Educator Workshops will show you the way, going beyond the typical social-emotional content, because here you will get the concrete strategies you need to live the life you want in a way that is sustainable. So grab your seat at the next Empowered Educator Workshop by going to empowerededucator.com/workshops. Remember all the passion and vision you had when you first went into teaching? Feeling like building young minds and creating community through your work would make a lasting impact on this world? Well, those days may feel like they're behind you now because you're exhausted, stressed, and overwhelmed and frustrated, but I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be like this. In fact, the love of teaching never really went away, but it absolutely needs transformation. Welcome to the Take Notes podcast. I'm Jen Rafferty, former music teacher, mom of two, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, and I'm here to light the way for you. In order to create a generational change for our kids, we need to shift the paradigm away from the perpetual stress and overwhelm and into a life of joy and fulfillment. This is Education 2.0, where you become the priority, shift how you live your life, and how you show up both at work and at home. So take a sip of steamy morning coffee and grab your notebook. It's time to take notes. Hello, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Take Notes. Today, I am here with my guest, Elijah Carbajal, who is a teacher like his mom, uncle, and grandparents before him. And he's been teaching in the state of New Mexico since 2014, currently working in the Albuquerque Public School District. He is the host of the Shut Up and Teach podcast and the author of the book, A Place They Love, Creating a Healthy School Culture and Positively Impacting Students. Elijah strives to make school a place that students love to be at by creating fun, safe, and engaging experiences and environments for all students. By challenging the norms of what education should look, act, and feel like, Elijah has created exciting opportunities for authentic learning to take place. And outside of the classroom, he can be found running, listening to, or creating music, reading, or relaxing with his cat, Nala. Hey, Elijah. Thanks for being here.
How are you? Thanks for having me, Jen.
I am so good, and I'm so glad to have this conversation. I know I saw your work on Twitter, actually, and was interested in your book and all of the cool things that you post about. And, of course, we share a music background.
Yes, literally a music background right now.
And me too.
Yeah,
And
my piano's in front of me. You can't see the piano on my screen.
very cool. Yeah. So for those of you who can't see, obviously, because you're listening, Elijah has awesome guitars in the back. Is that a bass right behind you too?
Yep. 5-string bass.
Fantastic. Yep. And of course, I'm always sitting in front of my piano and my guitar is over here too. So maybe at the end we'll play a song or something.
Hey, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
There are weirder things that happen on a podcast. So anyways, let's kind of get into this. I'm curious to know, what was it that was the catalyst for you to really focus on creating healthy school cultures?
Thank you. That's a great question, and something that I'm happy to talk about. Obviously, my book is about school culture. So when it came down to it, I noticed that I was learning things about school culture within my own classroom. So I was building a healthy classroom culture, and I noticed other teachers doing the same within theirs. And I just noticed that as each teacher was kind of focusing on their individual classroom and impacting the students that they could impact, the school culture itself began to become a little more healthier. And so what I decided to do when I decided to write this book, I had been blogging before that, and I noticed there was this theme of just like School needs to be fun. School needs to be engaging. School needs to be safe. Like kids need to love school. Like that's the sign to me of a healthy school culture is when kids are excited to actually come back to school. And so that was kind of the birth of that idea. And then that's where the name came from, A Place They Love. And so the book itself focuses really on impacting school culture by impacting students directly, by positively impacting students. When I think of school culture, I think of the practices, the norms, the way we interact with each other, the mindsets, the philosophies of the school itself. But I think we have to remember a lot of times we think, oh, that's like the adults, right? That's the adults. It's how the teachers interact with each other, how they do that. But it's also the students. Like schools are built for students, not for adults. And so the true sign of, I think, of healthy school culture is how do the kids feel? Are the kids feeling they actually love to be there? And if they are, good on us. And if not, what can we do to make those changes? And so that's what the book offers to a lot of the teachers who are looking to build a healthy school culture. It's just lots of tips for how you can impact your students within your own classroom, how you can take what they do outside and celebrate it inside the classroom. So you're celebrating the whole child, right? And so by doing those things, by all the tips and things that I've learned through my experience and have learned through research and practice and all that I mentioned in the book, I've just noticed there's a healthy shift in the school culture when those things are in place. And so my book isn't a cure-all. It's not going to fix every problem in the world, right? But it's really going to motivate the teachers to do what they're capable of, not going to like working yourself into an early grave or anything like that, but what you're capable of to make school a place that kids love. Because when we start doing that, we'll see the shift in the school culture.
Sure. And I think as you're talking, it needs to also be a place that adults love.
It does.
Right. Because they don't often right now, especially. And I think that's part of the problem is we've gone so far away from, you've described fun, engaging, safe. And yes, we want fun, engaging, safe for kids. And that also needs to happen kind of at these different macro levels of the school culture, right? Because I'm sure you've heard many of these same stories that are just tragic, that are what's happening right now. And the fun, engaging, safe is just being sucked out of everything. So can you talk a little bit about that too? Because creating something that is vibrant, like what you're describing as the school culture, can't come from a place that is absent of oxygen.
Yes, it does need to be a place that adults love. It does. I came to that realization myself when I decided what I was teaching was no longer fun for me. I dread teaching this because I don't like it and it's boring. And so I had to come up with something for my kids, but it was also for me because it was like, I'm not good at teaching this the way it is presented. I think it was grammar.
I was going to ask you, what was it?
It was definitely grammar. And so making a shift to make it fun, it wasn't a big shift. I didn't do something over the top. I started with something simple of just using images without any words at all and letting the kids come up with their own sentence and then picking it apart. Like, okay, where's your noun? Where's your verb? Like, is there a possessive noun in this sentence that you wrote? And so, just doing things like that, but using relevant images, right? It's not like, oh, because I tried one with the Joker, like Heath Ledger's Joker, and the kids knew it was the Joker, but they had no idea it was Heath Ledger. Like they didn't know that Joker. And so I was like, okay, you got to use something they actually can relate to. Fortnite images, Minecraft. I think I used Roblox, the Avengers, like things that they could connect with so that they were actually excited about seeing this image and seeing all that and writing about it. But again, it made it fun for me because now I'm like, oh, okay, like what other picture would they connect with? Like Minecraft was a big hit, but like, well, Roblox would be even better. Like, let me try that. And then I stepped it up and I went to music videos. So I remember showing a couple music videos and the kids had to pick apart like, okay, you need to identify 5 nouns, 5 verbs, and then try to put them into a sentence. And the kids were able to do it because it was speaking in their language. It was engaging and it was fun. But I had to change, right, for me too. It wasn't a shift just for them. It was a shift for me because now I was like, oh, okay, I don't dread this. I don't not look forward to this. Like I actually do look forward to teaching this lesson now. And so, yeah, it's about having fun. I talk in the book about being an engaged teacher yourself, right? We need to engage students, but we also should engage ourselves. I describe a football lesson where I set up tape across my classroom in 1-yard increments. Kids have like PE jerseys, those old like reversible ones.
Yep, like the pennies. Yep.
Yeah. So one side's green, the other side's yellow. And it's just a simple math review. but we gamified it. And then I stepped it up by wearing the referee uniform and was like calling plays and stuff like that. And it was like, I got so into it that I would do stuff like, hold on, I need to review that play. Like, and after further review, like the student was correct. It is a touchdown, like, or whatever. And just having fun with it myself, right? Because I realized that it's better if we all have fun together, right? Like I can do something that's really engaging for me, like a Heath Ledger Batman reference, but if it doesn't connect with them, it doesn't work. So it works better if everybody's connecting with what we're doing and everybody's having that fun, like you said, for sure. So yeah, school definitely needs to be a place that teachers love, that principals love too. I think about some of these principals I see, I had a principal one time that came out to the playground, started playing tetherball with these kids, and that line of kids just got longer and longer. I just love it. I think that school should be a place that is enjoyable for everyone. Yeah.
As you're talking, it's just so funny to think about the work that I do right now personally, the way that I navigate my decisions about what I want to do. Joy and pleasure are always like one of the top things that I look for to decide, am I going to do this thing or am I going to do this thing? Which is kind of an unusual way to think about running a business. But what I think is so interesting is when I have these conversations with teachers and administrators about using this idea of joy and fun and pleasure, there are kind of these two schools of thought. One of them is like exactly what you're describing right now is like, Elijah, your face lit up as you were telling these stories. Like I felt like I was there. We were in it, right? And people who just get prioritizing the joy and the fun. And then there's this other school of thought where it's like, well, school needs to be rigorous and challenging and hard. And what I would like to challenge folks, and I'm curious to know about your thoughts about this, is why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't it be rigorous and joyful and challenging and pleasurable?
Yeah, you're hitting on some topics that are in the book itself. There's a chapter in there called Sorry, Fun Friday's Over. And I really speak to the fact that like at some point in history and education history, we bought into this lie that if it's fun, it's not educational, right? And that educational, like rigorous education and a good, strong foundational education means that we're handing out these rigorous worksheet packets, right? Or it's drill and kill, or just that old school mentality of teaching, like, no, you're here to learn. And then on Friday, we can have fun, but like the rest of the week, no, we're taking this serious.
Right. Drill and kill on Monday through Thursday, but like Friday fun.
Friday fun, right? So I had never heard of that because I was homeschooled. For those listening, I was homeschooled K through 12. So had no public school like background at all going into it, which is a whole other story. But yeah, the first time I heard of Fun Friday, I was like, we've been having fun all week though. We've been doing some crazy science labs. We've gone outside multiple times. We've played football in the classroom. Like my kids are happy when they leave and they're happy when they get here. Like, why do I need to wait for Friday to do all these things when I can give them these opportunities now? I mean, it sounds cliche, but we're not promised tomorrow, right? We don't know if Friday is going to come. Some of those kids may not be here the next time for whatever reason. A lot of kids transfer to different schools, move away, get sick, whatever the case may be. We're not promised that. And so I really just believe that we should take the opportunity as it comes to us to give kids those opportunities and to make it fun, to make it fun for ourselves too. You got to love what you do.
Yes. And a place they love, it needs to be for everybody. And when we prioritize the joy and the fun, everything starts to change. And that's a big part, I imagine, of what you're talking about with a culture shift, is that it doesn't just happen in these small pockets of, well, today we're going to do a fun activity, but tomorrow it's back to work. That's not how we change culture.
Right. No, not at all. And you brought up something, it's like, it's either fun or it has to be rigorous, right? And what I've noticed is that when you incorporate more fun, it does become more rigorous. When kids have that buy-in and they're excited about what they're doing and you see those smiles on their faces, but it does become hard or challenging, they stick with it, right? I think about all the science, like engineering labs that I kind of put together where kids had to build things out of cardboard and like all this, just different things. They did challenges where they had to melt a snowball, but they couldn't use anything but what they found in their surroundings. Just, fun stuff like that, where it was fun and engaging, but also rigorous at the same time, that required problem solving. critical thinking, all these different skills because we're having fun, right? And a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's fun, it's not educational. And I'm like, no, we're hitting life skills, we're hitting teamwork, problem solving, not to mention the standards, all the standards that I'm actually hitting with the content. So I'd push back on that and say, if it's fun, it's not rigorous. No, I'd say if it's fun, it can lead to even more rigorous work from the students. Not that I'm making it rigorous, but they're stepping it up themselves.
100%. And the science backs this up. And that's the thing that drives me insane, because we know this. We actually know these things. We know that kids, but everybody, but particularly kids, learn better when there's an element of play. We understand that stress causes this increase of cortisol, which initiates our stress response, which actually makes learning less possible for people. And so we know all of this. However, the way that we run our schools and the way that they're set up don't actually reflect the science. And really what we're doing is we're not lowering the bar, we're lowering the barriers. And I think that's really an important piece of what I think needs to be understood about this conversation that we're having right now, is that fun doesn't mean lowering the bar.
No, not at all.
It's making it accessible.
Yes, absolutely. I'm thinking particularly about it, something that we did. I had a lot of reluctant readers. And so I knew that's because some of them struggled with it. As reading was a struggle for them as math is for other students and whatever. And so I did have some students that were hesitant to read and reluctant to read one year. And so I knew I had to engage them. I wasn't like, I'm sorry, but you have to read. That's the way it is. You have to read. It was like, let me see if I can engage them in the content before the curriculum. So I set up a science lab that matched what we were reading about in our English language arts, that we were studying nonfiction text. So I set up what we were learning about in the nonfiction text as an actual hands-on experience to engage the kids, which brought up vocabulary that could be discussed in context, right? So then going back into it a couple days later to revisit the page, now those hesitant readers were like, oh, I know this vocabulary word. I know what this actually looks like because I've seen it. I actually physically saw it and touched it and did all this. And it just made it so much accessible for them. So by putting the play in before, by giving them access to the content before the curriculum itself, it opened the door for them to learn even more.
Yeah. And again, it's more fun for you.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I love reading, but teaching reading by reading is not effective all the time. So it's we got more out of it. I got more out of it because I just decided to change it up a little bit and have fun with it.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting stuck right now, especially as we're kind of in this, we have a collective COVID brain fog.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everyone's just fatigued and just in this space of we're just kind of getting the next day going. And so what I'm hearing you say, what's kind of coming to me is that having a reframe and moving your spot at the table so you're looking at something in a different way could actually ignite some joy, could ignite some passion and reconnect with something that is maybe feels nostalgic right now of the reason why you're there, of what even you wanted to do in the first place. Is that something that resonates? Is that an accurate interpretation?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think that finding that joy, even when making that joy a priority, can shift a whole lot of perspective.
It does. Yes. Perspective for sure. And joy, I feel like joy, not happiness, but joy itself is like medicine. It really is. And so I think we start to see our emotional state be better, right? I know when I'm having fun, when I'm playing mentally and emotionally, I'm in a good place. So a lot of teachers need that. I need that for myself. I need that in my home life. I need it at school because it does. It brings me joy mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It recharges me in a way. It drains me a little bit while I'm doing it, but in the same time, it does fulfill me.
Yeah, it's that different kind of engagement, right? So can I ask, what kind of things bring you joy?
Oh man, the things that bring me joy. First of all, I must have sent you an old bio because she's not mentioned, but my wife, Tracy, definitely needs to be mentioned now. She is my favorite person in the whole world. We worked together. That's how we met. She was the art teacher and I was a fourth grade teacher at this school in Aztec, New Mexico. And, we eventually found our way together over the course of however many years and going through different things personally, but, eventually came together and we clicked so well. I love our conversations that we have together. In fact, we were just talking. So Thursday night is kind of like our reflection night where we sit down and it's like, okay, how did the week really go before we get to Friday? Because Friday comes and I'm like, no, I'm not talking about school. So Thursday, we kind of need these times to like have this moment together where we can look back and say, this is how my week really went. And this is how I want it to go next week. And these are my plans and these are my hopes. And so we spend a lot of time reflecting together, but we also had to have a lot of fun. Last night was date night on the couch and we ordered candy that we didn't need and had popcorn and pickles and watched old animated movies, and it was a blast. So she's my confidence, she's my everything. So I love her to death and I'm very thankful for her. My cat, I love my cat to death. She's kind of I know I joke about it, but she is kind of in a way my own emotional support animal as much as a cat can be. And you can see the guitars in the background. I love music, whether I'm listening to it, playing it, creating my own music. I love poetry that stems from music. And I just love I love words itself. And so just being able to play with words and kind of make words come to life on a page in a creative way, it brings a lot of joy. So, and I love to read too. Reading is one of those things, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. But what I found actually recently is that I love listening to nonfiction, but I prefer to read like physical copy fiction.
So interesting. Well, I'm glad that you shared. And again, I wish everyone could just see your face light up when you are talking about the things that bring you joy, particularly your wife. And I ask because we get so wrapped up in our job because it becomes the spotlight of our identity. And so I think folks really forget about reconnecting to the things that bring them joy because they're so tired or they don't prioritize it or they think they have to earn that time. But the truth is, when you seek out the things that light you up, that's when you come alive. And that's when you actually get to show up in the spaces that you care so much about and make the impact that you said you wanted to make when you first started teaching. I mean, that's the stuff. And everything you just said for you doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your work. And you bring that joy, though, with you into the classroom.
Absolutely. That balance is so important. And my wife and I have been talking about getting to a point in our career where it's like, I'm going to do what I'm capable of in this moment. But if I'm not capable of it and it's going to do more damage than good, I'm going to leave it here and I'm going to come back to it tomorrow. Right. So things like setting boundaries to make sure that I do those things that bring me joy is super important. One of the big boundaries I set this year was like, I'm not bringing work home at all. The last school I was at, for whatever reason, we were all having printer issues, wasn't connecting to printers. So I was printing stuff home. Like I was bringing a lot of work home and printing from my personal printer and things like that. Staying at work late, right? Getting to work excessively early, and I'm like, that's got to stop because that's not good for my mental health. And it's not good for me because now it's prohibiting me from doing the things that bring me joy and light up my face. And here's the thing is I love my job. I do. I love being a teacher. I love being an educator. I love being a Title I reading interventionist now, especially. And I don't want to lose that joy of that either. I don't want to lose that joy of being a teacher by overworking myself too much. So I had to set that boundary of like, okay, I'm not going to bring work home. I'm not staying late. I still get to work maybe 10 minutes early or so, but that's really more so I can turn the coffee on for everybody. But I said, that's the boundary. What do I need to do to make sure that that boundary doesn't get crossed? And then that led to the next thing of this is my prep time. Don't interrupt it. Like, I'm sorry to be that guy, but unless it's an absolute emergency, like this is my time as per negotiated contract. This is my uninterrupted prep time for me to do what I need to do to be prepared for whatever. And so I really started using that time wisely and not squandering it. And I made sure that it's like, okay, I've got a list, not like a crazy to-do list, but like these are some things coming up and I make sure that I'm on top of it. And so making sure that I use my time appropriately, the time that I'm given appropriately, ensures that when I leave right at 4:00, when that bell rings, and as soon as the last kid has left the door, I can leave too. Then I'm good. I'm good to go home and be with Tracy and lay on the couch with my cat and read a book or do whatever I want to do that's going to bring me joy. So it really does take setting some boundaries. I think is super important that nobody talks about. Well, not nobody. There's a book I'm going to drop really quick. Her name is Jamie Johnson. She's the author of a book called Teach and Still Have Time to Pee. And it is, just a phenomenal book. It's an easy read, very quick read, but it's very straightforward to the point of like why it's important to have these boundaries in place. Going to the bathroom is one of the most basic forms of self-care and taking care of our needs. And it's like when we sit in PDs, that's what they always tell us. Like, please make sure to take care of your personal needs. If you need the restroom, this is where they're at. That's one of the first things they tell us. But as teachers, we work ourselves so much that we're like, oh, whatever, I can hold it, and all this stuff. Or maybe it's not going to the bathroom, but maybe it's drinking some water. Maybe it's stepping outside for some sunshine. Some teachers work in rooms that don't have windows. So maybe it's just getting outside for a few minutes for some sunlight. So setting boundaries for the things that we need to make sure that we can actually do those things that bring us joy is so, so important.
It really is. And I'm smiling over here because I just posted something about peeing when you're a teacher. And I just have to share, these are the kind of comments that people have responded. This one person said, it's even come to the point of not drinking water and getting dehydrated and having a kidney stone due to dehydration, just so I don't have to go pee in the middle of the day during school. These are like actual people's comments about this. We talk about boundaries from this place, and we're like, you and I are speaking the same language. We're like, yes, boundaries. And the people who are listening, hopefully are kind of like coming to this idea of like, all right, if you're listening, you're dabbling in this work too. But like that comment right there, that's what's real. And I think something that's really important here is that when you create a boundary for yourself, you are actually creating a paradigm shift so somebody else understands that it is possible for them to create boundaries for themselves. And it is so important that we do this not just for us, but also to change school culture. And how are we showing up for our kids if we're all not going to the bathroom all day?
Right. If we're dehydrated, we're not getting that water in our system, right, for our brains and all that stuff. We're going to walk around foggy. I walk around with a headache when I don't have enough water personally. So yeah, I'm in no mood to teach when I have a really super bad headache. So I got to drink that water. And that means I'm going to have to go to the bathroom at some point today.
Right. Because you're human.
I'm a human being. Not sorry. I'm not even sorry.
No, of course you're not sorry. No, you're a human being. And that's the thing. And when we talk about self-care, oftentimes it gets kind of to this indulgence space. But really, like at the very bottom of the barrel meaning of self-care is taking care of your basic human needs, like eating, drinking, resting, washing, going to the bathroom. And like these are things that we don't often do collectively as teachers because it's this sense of, well, I need to give this up in order to give more. But based on everything that we've talked about before, how can you possibly find any joy if you are not able to meet your basic human needs? And so setting those boundaries, and I'm so glad you brought that up, is essential for you. And again, to find joy, to create a culture of a place where people just love to be.
Yeah, exactly. In the book, I put it this way, that we're not robots programming robots. We're humans teaching humans, right? And we have to keep the human connection in there. We have to make sure that connection stays there. Because if we only see students as students, if we only see teachers as teachers and not as a human being with a personality and characteristics and likes and dislikes and needs and desires and dreams and all that, what's the point? We are in charge of teaching. We don't teach grades. We don't teach subjects. We teach students, right? We teach humans. And so, yes, what we are teaching is the content, but we're teaching the individual self. So we have to remember to keep that human piece in there, that connection, so that we do remember to, number one, set our own boundaries, but also number two, I'm going to respect your boundary. I'm going to respect your boundary. I walked into a teacher's room and literally it was going to be like a 1-minute conversation. It was literally, I just need to ask you a quick question. Thank you. Goodbye. Walked in and I said, hey, do you have a minute to talk? And she said, I don't actually. She said, I really don't. And I said, okay, I'll come back later. Not a big deal. Like it's not a big deal. You set that boundary of now it's not a good time. I'm not going to overstep that by saying, oh, but it'll take just 1 minute. No, that's not respecting that person's space. That's not respecting that person's time. So it's not just setting the boundaries for yourself, but as I see you as a human, and I recognize myself as a human who sets boundaries, I see you as a human who has your own boundaries too. And I need to honor those and respect those as well.
Yes. Namaste.
I love it.
Yes. So how can people learn more about you and get in touch with you? Of course, all of the links to all of these things are going to be in the show notes. But for those of you who are listening, can you share that with us?
Yes, of course. So probably the easiest way to find me is on Twitter or Instagram, but I use Twitter a lot more, but the handle is the same. So I'm going to drop both of those there. So it's at Carba Eli. So at Carbaeli. So that's Instagram and for Twitter. You can find me on either of those platforms. I have a podcast called the Shut Up and Teach podcast. It's available on just about every major platform. Just became part of the Teach Better podcast network on Wednesday. So if you head over to the Teach Better site and search their podcast network, you'll find it there, along with some other great podcasts available. And so if you'd like to read the book, that's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble and the EduMatch website. If your school would like to check it out and do like a book study with it, you can save some money on like buying in bulk. And I'd be happy to do some professional development for anybody who does that as well. So yeah, please get in contact with me. I'd love to connect with you.
Fantastic. And like I said, all of those links will be in the show notes. It'll be super easy for people to get in touch. Elijah, thank you so much for your time. And this conversation was so great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate you having me on.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you share it with a friend and write a nice review. And we'll see you next time on Take Notes.
Incredible, right? Together, we can revolutionize the face of education. It's all possible, and it's all here for you right now. Let's keep the conversation going at Empowered Educator Faculty Room on Facebook.